On the remote coastline, where the endless ocean kissed the ragged shores, lay a forgotten village of barely 2,000 souls. Life here was simple, predictable, until the night the masked men came. Without warning, they stormed into homes under the cover of darkness, their faces hidden behind black cloth. Families were ripped apart in moments. Men and their sons were beaten savagely, bound with coarse ropes, and thrown to the ground like sacks of grain. Worse yet, the women, mothers, daughters, were violated before the helpless eyes of their loved ones. And then he appeared, a hulking brute of a man, known only as Rage, carved his way through the chaos. In his hand, a black leather whip hissed and cracked like a serpent. Without mercy, he lashed out at the captives until consciousness slipped away from them, one by one. But among the despair, a flicker of hope survived. A young boy, Kai, watched with eyes large and terrified, yet burning with a defiant spirit. His father had whispered to him, before the cruelty consumed them, "Live, my son. Remember, they can take our bodies but never our souls." Kai was thrust into a ship, its hull a tomb carrying captives across the merciless sea. Muffled cries filled the air. Hopes dashed against the wooden confines. Days became nights, and nights bled into days, indistinguishable under the oppressive hand of despair. Cold and hunger gnawed at them, while Rage patrolled the ship, his whip ever at the ready, a devil in human skin. Yet Kai clung to his father's words, weaving them into the fabric of his dreams. He dreamed of fields touched by the sun, of the laughter of his sister, and of freedom. An eternity passed till land emerged foreign and uncertain. Families were bartered and sold, lives commoditized like grain sacks. But Kai was not broken. He held on to shards of his memory, binding himself to those he lost and the life stolen from him. As each day unfolded, Kai sought ways to resist, small acts of defiance proliferating like seeds born upon the wind. His unyielding spirit inspired others, creating echoes of hope in hearts long dulled by agony. Kai's tale is of survival, of refusing to let darkness smother the light within. Bound by chains yet free in conviction, he whispered to those who listened, "Though torn, we are whole. Though bound, we are free. Fight, for we are the fabric of resistance, the enduring light of hope." Regina stood among the weary, her eyes once bright, now dulled by the sheer weight of their ordeal. She had been one of the fortunate to survive this wretched voyage, clinging to life as if it were a fragile tether in a storm. But in surviving, she had endured the witnessing of horrors unspeakable. As they stumbled off the ship, her gaze caught Oliver's, her son, clutching by her side, his hands like chains around her heart. It pained her to walk, every step a reminder of her lost child. Lucy, her daughter, whom the ocean had claimed in the darkest nights of that burdened voyage. Yet even amidst the sorrow, Regina found a small spark of defiance within her soul. It may have been buried under layers of fatigue and pain, but it flickered ever so slightly. They came upon Mr. Tack's domain, a haunting landscape of beauty and vice interwoven, where lush crops denied the misery from which they sprang. Mr. Tack, poised, with a sinister grace, surveyed them like livestock brought to auction. Captain Bag's gaze fell on Oliver, his hands quivering with latent cruelty as he reached for the boy. Regina felt her heart jolt with raw panic. She could lose him, her only anchor in this merciless world. "No," she whispered, as if the word had the power to protect, to arm her silent plea with hope. Mr. Tack observed her with detached curiosity. A glint sparked in his eyes, something unseen yet heavy. His voice was iron, clad with authority. "Seize the boy," he commanded in a manner cold, unyielding. Regina fell to her knees, her hands outstretched. "Please, I beg you." Oliver clung to her still. In a moment, Captain Bag's fist thundered across Regina's sight. Pain split her vision, cleaved her consciousness. When it cleared, Oliver was gone, swallowed into the ranks of the lost boys, waiting their punishment with Captain Bag. Regina lay upon the wet earth, rage fierce in her chest. Her world had been ripped asunder amidst the shadow of Mr. Tack's empire, which prospered on the backs of the broken. Yet amongst the cruelty and desolation, her unyielding spirit whispered a vow into the forsaken land. "I will find you," she vowed softly into the soil, each word an unbreakable promise, "and we will be free." Under the relentless weight of earth and coal, Jack and Joby toiled in the suffocating mines, whispering of a world beyond this blackness. Their spirits, though bruised, found a fragile refuge in hope. A hope that persisted despite Rage's whip and Mr. Tack's tyranny, who wielded cruelty with the ease of a tyrant. Meanwhile, in the endless wheat fields, the sun punished those who dared falter. Women, children, and men alike staggered under the blazing heat, where any stumble invited the sting of a whip. Jancy's struggles in the vineyards were born of a fatigue that spoke of years rather than hours. Her daughter Sola embodied silent rebellion, alleviating her mother's burden with the quiet resolve of love that cried louder than words ever could. Every seventh day bore the scream of a new terror. The enslaved, eyes hollow from too many broken dawns, were herded into the square, eyes pinned to the man above them. Mr. Tack, as if oblivious to the ruin in their eyes, announced their reward. "See your families." His words fell upon them like ash from a long-dead fire. "Only on my terms." His intonation glimmered with malice, as if this were clemency. Divided by electrified iron, families strained to see familiar eyes across the sparking barrier. Around them, the air crackled with an oppressive silence, daring to be broken by a cry that never came. Even hope's whisper found it could not cross those charged iron bars, crackling brightly against gray skies. Yet amongst them, eyes did meet, and hearts defied the chill. A silent pact held them steady, not bending to Mr. Tack's twisted mercy. They found resilience there, in the flame of unyielding spirit, as steadfast as the dawn that Joby promised his brother. In those thin moments, the enslaved clung fiercely to their humanity, even in the face of a sunless world devised by the whims of one who believed himself untouchable. When all else crumbled, what kept the promise alive was the fire within, a spirit that raged brighter than Rage's whip, and outlasted the steel of Mr. Tack's prison. For the first time in weeks, a sliver of hope flickered in the captives' hearts. Some crafted small gifts from scraps, a flower for a fiancé, a bracelet for a wife. Smiles, faint but real, returned to their battered faces. After a rare hot meal, they washed and dressed in rags cleaned for the occasion. As dusk fell, the square was filled with anticipation, and then horror. When Joby spotted his mother across the fence, he surged forward, hands outstretched. At the moment his skin brushed the iron bars, electricity coursed through him with a sickening crack. He fell dead before Jack's helpless eyes, and before their mother's agonized screams. A voice boomed, "Touch the fence again, and you'll meet the same fate." The true purpose of the gathering revealed itself. Women and girls were doused in cheap alcohol. Guards with clubs and whips descended on them, beating them savagely. Then, before the eyes of fathers, brothers, and sons, the unspeakable began. Acts of cruelty so vile they tore apart the very soul of those who witnessed them. Above it all, noblemen and women watched from balconies, laughing, placing bets, toasting glasses of wine. This was no reunion. It was a demonstration. A message: you are nothing. You belong to us. Every week, the nightmare repeated, each time more grotesque, more inventive in its cruelty. In the face of such horror, survival itself became an act of defiance. Jack, kneeling over his brother's body, swore an oath under his breath. His fists clenched. His spirit, though bloodied, would not break. "One day," he whispered to the cold stars above, "this land will remember the wrath of the broken."